Welcome to another episode of the Voice of Influence podcast. I'm your host, Fong Chua, and with me is the happiest person on earth, my co-host, Stacy McPherson. On this show, our aim is to help you break down the barriers of public speaking and allowing you to succeed and become the voice of influence. Now, in the past few episodes, we talked about all the techniques, all the skill sets that you need to have to become a great speaker. And moving forward, we're going to bring on some amazing speakers who are able to share with us their path, their success, and their tips as well. And I'm very, very excited with this because this is our very first guest appearance. So please, Stacy.
Well, I am so excited about today's podcast. So we'd like to welcome Cosimo, and he is amazing. He is born and raised in Italy, and he has a US office, and he and his wife train people all over the world to optimize the way they use their brain in order to do anything that they want to do. But today I specifically wanted him to talk about how he optimizes the learning process. So he has said things like, everyone likes to learn, but they don't always like the learning process. So he bridges that gap. Oh my gosh, he teaches people how to use the best process for their unique brain. And so I am so excited to hear more about this. I'll just tell you briefly that I got to see him give an example of this amazing technique, and he memorized 40 numbers in less than a minute, and he repeated them back rapid fire. I was so impressed.
That's absolutely amazing. Sounds like a skill set that everybody has to have in order to become good speakers or great entrepreneurs. Something that I'm sure a lot of people is interested in. So, why don't you share with us your process, what you do, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on this podcast. I love your energy, guys, and I can't wait people can connect with us today. So, the most important thing we have to know is that no one really taught us how to learn, just what to learn. And that's why we created different blocks in learning. So, blocks can be, for example, reading over and over without retaining, it can be procrastination, distractions, feeling overwhelmed, frustrated. Many professionals or people that I work with think this is normal, that our brain needs to feel that way, but actually, no. It's because behind those feelings and things we're doing, there are learning blocks that we get from school, and they keep influencing us in our professional life or results in business. So I I was not a speaker years ago, but I became, and I met this course when I was going to college. It was not called Genius in 21 Days. And I stopped only because there was this girl giving up flyers, and she honestly was pretty. So I stopped because she was there giving up flyers, and I'm dyslexic. And so for me, I was always looking for ways to learn better, learn faster. So I fell in love with this course, and then I became a co-founder and co-creator of most of the methods that we have right now in our company. And so I am the co-founder of the US, and it's really fun to work with business owners. So if your question, Fong, is how this can help business owners to thrive in their speeches or in their business, well, our brain is the most important thing we have to use in our business. And we always need to learn things. So when we feel stagnant, when we feel stuck, or we feel frustrated, is because we can't move forward. Why? Because we are not growing. And the most important thing we have to know when we have to do when we are growing is learning. Think about like when we were kids. So when we were kids, we were used to learn everything and anything at this at any moment. And if we couldn't learn, what happened to us? We felt like no one can answer my whys, no one can answer this, no one can answer that. And kids are so persistent in saying why. Why? Because learning is the very first thing we need to do. And so when we can't learn, we can't grow, we feel stagnant. So when you ask the question, and I will get to the point, usually they call me the get to the point guy, but I need to give a background. When you ask me the question, how can this influence and impact people when they're speaking? Well, if you're thinking to your speech because you didn't learn it enough well to be fluent with it, you can't connect with the audience. And so you're not going to really connect with them. And so you're going to be maybe half or a third or a quarter effective that you can be if you actually could retain and be only with them. So that's a tip I can give, because being a speaker for a long time and working with speakers, it's been the big challenge.
I have a question for you. So you mentioned when I listened to you speak earlier and in different places that you give techniques that are specific to a person's brain, like what their brain is like and how they can best optimize the technique that will help them the most. So would you be able to share with us an example? Take someone who you learned their way their brain worked, and then walk us through some very specific exercises that you help them do to be able to remember, say, their speech better.
Oh, I love this. So first of all, we have different cognitive styles. So I don't want to use those big scientific words. Cognitive styles is how your brain likes learning. Okay, so now we can study many of them, but specifically we use either global or analytical, or visual and verbal. So there are 4 cognitive styles. We can be global visual, analytical visual, global verbal. All of those people think and talk and learn all in a different way. And so it's like I am speaking Arabic and I'm speaking Italian if I can't speak the way they learn. Okay. So now what happens is in school, this happens most of the times. You have some professor and subjects that you can understand really, really well, and some subjects that you don't understand at all. You maybe like the professor, but you can't understand him. you say, am I stupid? Or what's wrong here? It's because most likely this person is global visual and you are analytical and verbal. So you're speaking a totally different language in learning. At the same time, you're going to lose what? Trust in that person or in the subject. So what I can tell you that when you understand other people's brains and characteristics and cognitive styles, they can speak better, they can learn better, and you connect better with them. So I think a tip that I can give you is start listening more on how people talk to you, and you can customize the way you talk based on how they are talking to you. Of course, if you're in an audience, there are many cognitive styles. You're going to use all 4. I'm going to give you like a preview of what they are. In my course, actually, we talk about specifically to everything: weaknesses, strengths, how to recognize them, and all of that. To do this quickly, instead of spending 3 hours with me and do it in a minute, we can do this. A global person is a person that likes big picture and then going into details later. So they're fast thinkers, and usually they want to tackle things immediately, even if they didn't understand fully the details. Analytical people, they like having all the details under control, to see the big picture, to feel comfortable to tackle something they need to do. Visual people are people that want to get to the experience. They have to do things, okay? And verbal people, they are more logic. So they want to be logic. Everything needs to make sense in order for them to see things, okay? Now, you understand all the combinations. So now, in this case, if you are talking to an audience, it's good to be a little bit global in the beginning and then being more analytical and then more visual and more verbal at the end. Otherwise, if you start giving them too many details, you may lose all the global people in the room. and they start thinking something else, animals they're flying, things they have to do. So there are so many things they're going to think. And now, to give an example of people that I helped, that's the question, I think you want me to answer.
Yes.
So I had so many speakers so far. So the recent one was, she is a financial advisor, and finances, if you think about it, are very, 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 very detailed. And most of the times when you start talking about terms, if you're not familiar with it, your brain shuts down. So you just don't follow it. How can you make a decision on something you can't understand? You can't. So what we did is we used some techniques to to create her speech on ways everyone can understand, as simple as telling them everything in 5 minutes. And so it was phenomenal because after 5 minutes, people were asking more questions and allowed her to get more into details. And she said it was the first time everyone was asking questions, interested in understanding more than saying, I'm good, see you later, I'm going to think about it, and never heard back from them. So that was really, really fun. And she was very analytical and verbal, means that she liked many details. And she has to know all the details, of course. And verbal, everything needs to make sense. And so she was giving too many reasons to people they didn't even need to know in that moment. So it was really fun. Besides the fact she felt very uncomfortable in retaining all the speeches the way she wanted. So we worked also on learning the speeches properly. So that's the answer.
Very,
Oh,
very
very
cool.
nice.
You kind of moved right into a question that I wanted to ask, and that is preparation. How do you learn the speeches? How do you learn the presentations that you want to give? Now, for somebody like yourself who is known for an amazing memory, logically, most people would think, hey, if I want to prepare for a speech, I have to memorize. I'm going to read it over and over and over until I got it down packed so that it's completely word for word perfect. So is that what you do?
No, no. Yeah, okay. Wow, that's a great question. So let me put it this way. Repeating over and over is not a method. And if you want to argue, I would say it's a poopy method. Okay? So now, what do I mean with that? Repeating over and over, everyone knows that doesn't work long term. It's boring and it's very long. It's going to take you a lot of time. Now, our brain likes things that are fast. When you're thinking, you think super fast. And if you're going slower than your brain wants to go, you're going to lower your focus. So you're going to lower your understanding what you're talking about. You're going to lower your motivation, so your energy. And so what happens is your frustration, overwhelming will go up. You are going to lose about 90% of what you're learning in that moment. And you're going to be like 3% after 6 months, you give the speech about what you learned in that speech. So think about this like when you learned a language, let's say Spanish, if you didn't use it, after 6 months, you maybe would remember 3 sentences out of 100 you were exposed to, because it's how your memory works when you don't have techniques. So to answer your question, repeating over and over, I would say kill me. It will be less painful than repeating over and over, okay? So no. Now, you can repeat out loud to work on your inflection, your tempo, your emphasis, and your rhythm, the way you want to connect with people, but maybe 2 times, not multiple times to learn it. Learning is a part of the process. Practicing is another part. There are 2 different things, okay? If you're trying to learn to practice at the same time, your brain is going to be confused. So, learning. First of all, understand what your learning styles are. Are you global? Are you more analytical? Are you more verbal? Are you more visual? Based on that, schedule better the time you want to prepare for the speech. Another thing to ask you is understand what are the main points you want to talk about. They can be more interesting and people will be more interested in what you are going to talk about. Put some of your emotions, examples into it. These are more memorable than just pure facts that after 3 minutes the people are going to kill themselves in the room. I'm sorry, I'm talking about too much killing today, but actually it's exactly what happens when you're bored. And so you want to disappear, okay? So, but I can tell you, I'm very gentle and and I respect people. But I want to say to you guys, your brain doesn't want to be bored to death. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So be clear. And now techniques that you can use. It's impossible for me really right now to give techniques because it takes so much time than the time that we have today. But if I want to really give a tip, I would talk about use examples and images for people that for you will be easier to remember than, and also for them will be easier to remember. So this way you are in a story, and everyone will love stories. So that would be a great thing to give it to you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And if could you give us some tips about how people can remember people's names?
Oh, there are about 7 techniques to use that. And again, it's a lot of like different guys. We should have like a 5 hours course today, so I could teach everything in this. Now, people's names. So the most important thing you have to know is that our brain doesn't retain words, it retains images. So one of the many techniques you can use to memorize names would be to think about an association, an image with that name. For example, let's say I have a Stacy, you in this case. So to remember, you have already a friend of mine, which is her name is Stacy. And so I can associate and relate that to you really, really easily. But if I don't have anyone like, let's say, Fong in this case, I will think about like fog. And so I would remember his name with an image. So there are many, many strategies. What you have to understand is our brain is always visual, associations, and emotions. So you can really use techniques by using all those 3 characteristics to transform everything like your brain wants to use it. So it wants to understand it, it wants to learn it. But you have to understand also how your brain likes learning. That's why, for example, and I will conclude with this, we have a test, it's called Genius Test, through which we know everything about people's brain, blocks they might have, strengths they have, they're using, how their brain likes learning. And so to each block, you have to associate a specific technique, block technique, so now you can customize a method on people's brain. You can go on YouTube and type how to memorize names. You're going to find different people that can tell you this, that may work with their brain, but not necessarily with yours. So you have to find, we have to find exactly the technique that works with our brain and someone that can customize that on our brain. And that's what I like about this course, because it was customized in my brain. It was freaking amazing.
Something I like to do, sorry, Fong, something I like to do when someone's meeting me for the first time is actually give them an image so that they can remember my name better. And I recently went to a 3-day conference in Maryland, and I introduced myself and I said, "Hi, I'm Stacy. I love to stay at the sea and I'm from Hawaii."
I love that. Yes, see?
You wouldn't believe how many people called me by my first name the whole rest of the time, which is lovely. We always like to be referred to with our name, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes, there are. I mean, this is a great example on be memorable. So you use the images and people can remember you.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're a person who's been all around the world, speaking on big stages, speaking on like in front of big audiences as well. One question I always like to ask is, what was your very first experience speaking in front of people? How was that like? Were you a natural, or did you have to work on some things?
Well, you don't want to know it. In this case, I was 20 the first time I did this public speaking. So just a second. The education in Italy is a little bit different than here. We are trained. So we have oral exams and written exams. So since you are in elementary school, you stand up and in front of your classroom, you have to explain and talk to the professor about what you know. So that's very intimidating because you are tested on knowledge in front of everyone. Now, that's why in Italy, many people have a lot of anxiety about tests because they may be oral and they may be written. Usually they perform better with written tests. Now, my really big event, I was 20, there were about 100 entrepreneurs and I was 20 and those entrepreneurs were over 50. So I was there to teach them something. By being 20, I was very enthusiastic about what I was doing. I remember that when I was getting on stage, it was my first time, and I thought, I remember all my speech. I have no doubts. I had so much confidence in the content I wanted to deliver. And the only the only doubt I had is they're in their 50s. And usually the stereotype is 50s, they don't smile, they want to get to the point, and if they're entrepreneurs, they're usually mad at speakers. So this is like what in my brain was going on. And I said, so two things. The first one was, I'm gonna be myself. If they like me, great. If they don't like me, great. Second, I'm going to be, so I said, please help me to be the best tool for those people to elevate themselves. So I got on stage and it was fantastic. It was phenomenal. So a guy actually challenged me that day, and we were talking about sales. And this guy was in his 40s, I think. And he said, well, you're 20. How many sales did you make then? Then in that moment, I was top income earner in the company. And I said, well, I made over $1 million. What? Yes. So that's what I need. And you're 20? Yes. And so to how many people you talked? It doesn't matter how many people I talked. It matters what the price you're selling to. So, and at the same time, yes, I failed multiple times. But I want to say always, I said, I want to say something to you. Oh, he told me, well, in your 20s, you shouldn't be able to sell that easy because you don't have credibility, you don't have this, you don't have that. Well, I would say to you, a smile is better than any credibility you can create with people.
Nice.
And,
I am so on board with that.
and he said, why? Because the report it's created instantaneously, just funny to people. Now, he said, whether I don't believe this, if you made $1 million, then in sales, I mean, gross sales, it doesn't mean that I have $1 million. Then I believe you. But at the same time, I'm in my 40s. I have a very hard time to sell to people my business. And I said, well, try with a smile and then let's talk later. So, well, years later, I met the same guy in another speech. And he told me that actually was the one thing he took from that speech, and he was able to close more sales. I said, great. So now I love your degrees, but your smile seems better, looks better than your wall. So that's it. That's it.
That totally simplifies so many people's thought process. They're like, oh, I need this, I need that. No, you don't. Just smile.
Yes.
Smile your way to success. It's all good.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I have a question for you. And first, I'm going to answer your question. The question that I'm going to give to you, I'm going to answer it wrong, probably, but I want to try. Okay, so my question is first, can you explain how you live your life differently because of your ability to memorize things? Okay, let me answer. I would think that when they give you that 6-digit code on your phone and you have to run into the computer, you don't have to keep looking at your phone. You just know your 6-digit code. Also, shopping lists, like and maybe you even keep a shopping list in advance. Like you could be, we need bread. You keep that in there, ready to grab when you need it. Everything could be like ready to grab, maybe shopping lists. And then another one is if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you get an amazing idea, you don't have to turn on the light and write it down. You can remember it. Okay, now you answer for real.
First of all, numbers, yes. If it is a number that I'm going to memorize and retain, yes, I want to memorize it. Shopping list, forget about it. I don't want to memorize it. I don't want to spend my time memorizing a shopping list unless my wife says, this is very important. So I don't need to use any memory techniques. I'm going to remember it. And then when you said about the ideas, yes, actually that happens often. By the way, since I have a 4-month-old right now, so I'm waking up usually about around 2 or 3, whatever it is, and I have thousands of ideas when I wake up. And so I don't have time to write them down. So I can remember all of them. And when I start working at 9 or 10, I can actually write them down and have them all in a beautiful other technique that we use. So when you trust your brain, it's a totally different relationship that you will have with yourself. That's what I would say to you. For a long time, being dyslexic, I thought I didn't have so much trust in my abilities, and I had many reasons to think about it and to believe in that since my results in school and all of that. But after I had techniques that allowed me to trust my innate skills the way I never trusted before. That was life changing. And so I want everyone to understand that you have your brain, it's perfect for you. You just need to tap into your innate skills, give yourself tools, give your brain tools, and there is no limit, really no limit for your brain and for yourself.
Awesome. Woo! I love it. I love
That
it.
is awesome. I mean, you are the second person this month that I've been very honored to talk to who has an amazing brain when it comes to memory, and both of you have the same sort of backstory where he was diagnosed with ADHD, where all the teachers and parents say, yeah, he's not going to amount to anything, and he ended up being a two-time Guinness World Record holder for greatest memory. So both of you found a way, regardless of what was diagnosed, to make it work and succeed at it. Could you explain to me that mentality? How do you overcome that type of negativism, that type of feedback that most people generally go, you know what, I give up. You're right, I can't do it. But you went a different path. How did you do that?
Oh, it's a very deep question, by the way. So let me put it this way. What's the alternative? So it means that give up or going ahead. If I give up, what's the alternative to giving up? And means that if you give up, then you have nothing else. You're delegating your responsibility to the fact to everyone else will think about you. It's your life. You're the only one that has the power to either outwin what people say about you or what you say to yourself. After you outwin this and you win this war within yourself, not outside, then you're going to be able to win what you want to win in your life. So in my case, I had exactly this conversation with me when I was coming to America. I said, oh, they voted me to go to America. I know nothing about English. I'm a national speaker here. I'm doing so many good things in Italy. Now I need to start over again in another country, knowing nothing about them. And I never learned English in years of school. So much fear. But then my brain said, Cosimo, yes, you're dyslexic. Yes, you never learned English. Yes, you whatever. But now you have a method. You can trust the fact you can do it. So that's why I learned 6,000 words in 2 weeks, plus the grammar rules coming in the US. I was able to hold my course. I did a TED Talk. I became twice author. I mean, I did so many good things. And this is not to brag or show off, but if I have fed the bad wolf in my brain, I would have been stuck in Italy, doing what I like for sure, but it would have always been in my brain, what if? If you stop thinking, what if, and you do it, then you're going to create your story. And I know sometimes the unknown, it's scary, but it is when you really get creative. So, because if you do everything you know, then you never get creative. But when you get into the unknown, then you start being creative. So that's what I would say. Start really feeling what if, and go ahead with what if and do it. And then worst case scenario, you already for sure it's something more than for sure it's something more than doing nothing. So that's the worst case scenario.
Nicely done. Stacy?
Awesome. Awesome. Woo! I love this. I love the curiosity and creativity aspect of it, because what are we if all we're doing is just inputting information and getting it out again? Like, the creativity makes us who we are and unique and something special, and also makes it so that it's so enjoyable to do the whole process of learning. And I think that's a key point for your message, is to enjoy that process and not just the end result of now I have the learning. So thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yes, it's really important what you said. So everyone needs to understand that.
Very, very cool. Stacy, is there anything else that you would like to ask?
I think I'm good. I really enjoyed this. I really did. I'm so grateful that you could be on our show today. It was so much fun and I learned so much. So thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to ask Cosimo, anything that you would like to share and have final words as well.
Well, I would say keep learning, keep growing, never get stuck. You're not too late or not too young, not too early. So just do it. Do it. You're perfect for the dream that you have. And I would like to hear your comments after this podcast. You can go on Instagram and message me there. I always answer people on Instagram. I have also a YouTube channel with my name and last name. It's Cosimo Intermite. Or you can also text my office. It's 303-589-7430. So text me there. If you tell me you're coming from the podcast, and since I love Stacy and Fong, you maybe come to some of my training for free. So please do that. And I can't wait to see more people be empowered by what you're doing, guys. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you. Actually, I'm premature on the part that I went final words because I have 5 quick rapid fire questions for you to get to know you, have some fun, and know more about you. Are you good?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So if you had an opportunity to have a dream mentor or coach to help you with your coaching, your speaking, who would you have? It could be a person that's a real life person or a fictional character.
So Tony Robbins is my favorite one.
Mhm. Awesome. You get to host any event in the world, and you want to get as many people to come in and sit and pay attention and be in the audience. You get to choose 5 keynote speakers. One of them is yourself, of course, but who will be the other 4? Who's going to be speaking?
Oh.
Again, fictional or real life?
Awesome. So I would say fiction. No, okay. Let me see. As I said, Tony Robbins is my favorite one. Alex Hormozy is another one that I like. Elon Musk is another one that I like. I like so much the Avengers, so I don't think we have enough spots on the stage for the Avengers. But I think Captain America would be amazing to have on stage, just to tell people that you can transform your life no matter what you're coming from.
Nicely done. And then when you need to pump yourself up and get ready for the big stage, what is your go-to song? And feel free to sing it if you like.
Oh, my go-to song is I'm a Man on a Mission. And it's it's a song. It's called I'm a Man on a Mission. And I can't pronounce really well the name of the singer, but I can spell it for you if I read it. Is Ho the Larceny.
Right, I'll look that up. Well, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. Stacy, anything else to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you again for coming. This has been so fun.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Once again, that's Stacy. This is Cosimo. My name is Fong. And until next time, when you speak with confidence, you have the voice of influence. We'll see you later.